Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Law Educators. Friends, today I am presenting my next topic which is related to interpretation of statute revision part 3. In my last video we covered external aids and maxims of statutory interpretation. In today's video we will need to cover following topics, which is interpretation of penal statute, interpretation of taxation statutes, welfare legislation, and prospective and retrospective statute. So friends, now let's start with the first topic, which is interpretation of penal statute. So first we need to understand what is penal statute. Penal statute are those statutes which is enacting an offense or imposing a penalty is to be strictly construed. While interpreting, the penal statute define and creates the offenses and impose penalty of fine or imprisonment or both, because such statute impose criminal liabilities. They are strictly interpreted by the courts as the power to provide the punishment is vested with the legislature and not the court. A penal statute interpreted strictly and literally and in the light of constitutional provisions. In the words of Lord Asher MR, the settled rule of construction of penal section is that if there is an reasonable interpretation which will avoid the penalty in any particular case, we must adopt the construction. It is now only the limited application and it serves the selection of one when two or more construction are reasonably open. The rule was originally involved to mitigate the rigor of monster sentences for travel offences, although the necessity and the strictness has now almost vanished. When words employed in the penal statute are not clear, the principle against double penalization would be applied. Failure to comply with the statute may attract penalty, but only because the statute attracts penalty for failure to comply with the statutory provision. The same in all situations would not call for the strict construction. If there are two reasonable construction, we must give the use of lenient one. For a case law, Chief Justice Mahajan in Tolaram versus State of Bombay case, Chief Justice has stated that if two reasonable construction can be put upon a penal provision, the court must lean towards that construction which exempt the subject from penalty rather than the one which impose penalty. It is not competent to court to stress the meaning of expression used by the legislature in order to carry out the intention of legislature. There is one more case, which is Inder Sen versus State of Punjab. This case was an issue with the interpretation of word possess. In section 9 does not bear a clear meaning of it. It means the both way as mere possession or possession with knowledge, means mens rea. The act being a penal statute should be interpreted in favor of accused. If there are two reasonable interpretation possible, it was held that prosecution has failed to prove the possession was with knowledge, hence he could not convict it. So this case is totally related with the word of possess. So the prosecution fails to interpret the meaning of possession and he fails to prove the possession was with knowledge. So there is a two things with the meaning of possession word, which is one mere possession and second one is possession with knowledge. So while interpreting The reasonable interpretation as possible. It was held that prosecution has failed to prove the possession was with knowledge, hence he could not convict it. So now we're moving to the next topic, which is interpretation of taxing statute. So taxing statute is a fiscal statute which is enacted on the basis of trial and error method or experimentation basis. It imposes financial burden upon the subject and hence need to be strictly construed as a tax not provided for by the legislature, cannot be imposed by the courts by interpreting in a vague or liberal manner. A taxing statute means a statute or an act making compulsory imposition of tax or fee. Taxation statute is a fiscal statute which imposes the pecuniary burden of the taxpayer on the taxpayer. So such statutes are construed strictly. Plain, clear or direct grammatical meaning is given. Where there are two possible outcomes, then that interpretation is given which is in the favor of SSC. Any taxation statute involves three stages. Firstly, the subject on which tax is levied or imposed. Secondly, the assessment of the liability of SSC. And lastly, the recovery once the assessment is made. Taxes are levied by exercising a sovereign power to raise revenue by the state. Court, while interpreting, have interpreted these statutes strictly as SSC cannot be overburdened for taxes which are not there in the language of statute. So the court have been cautious while interpreting the taxation or fiscal statute. The general rule is that in a taxing statute should be construed strictly. For example, a person should not be taxed unless the word of statute unambiguously impose taxes on him. Like if something related to the taxation statute or is some words which is ambiguous or unclear, then taxes will not imposed on him, and the right and the liability of tax should be strictly construed. If there are two meaning for particular word, the one favorable to SSC in matter of taxation has to be preferred. In case of fiscal interpretation, court cannot proceed to make good deficiencies, and in case of doubt, court should be interpreted in the favor of SSC. There is a case law, A.V. Fernandez versus State of Kerala, AIR 1957, SC 657. In this case, Justice Bhagwati, the Supreme Court settled that these principles by its various pronouncements. So these are the 6 pronouncements made by Supreme Court in that particular case. The first thing, an SSC must be clearly bound within the ambit of changing section by clear words used. Second, while interpreting fiscal statute, equitable consideration are wholly out of place. Third one is, if the words are ambiguous and open to two interpretation or means open to two meanings, the benefit of doubt in interpreting such words is to be given to the subjects which is to the SSC. Taxing statute cannot be interpreted on the basis of assumptions and presumptions. There should be no assumption or presumption while interpreting the taxing statute. The court cannot import provision in the statute so as to supply any deficiency. The court cannot imply anything which is not clearly expressed by the word of statute. Means in this particular thing, court has no right to imply anything which is not clearly expressed by the word of statute. In taxation statute, if a word has a clear meaning, then in that case the court is bound to follow the clear meaning even if such meaning result in absurd results. It is in the legislature domain to rectify such absurdity. In case of taxation statute, court cannot extend the scope of law by giving meanings to that word which are unclear or uncertain. So I have earlier told you that court has no right to extend the scope of law by giving the particular meaning to words which are unclear or uncertain. Now moving to the next topic, which is welfare legislation, and we can also call it beneficial construction. So just understanding the interpretation of welfare legislation. Welfare legislation or beneficial construction means the interpretation of statute which are passed for the benefit or welfare of the people. Like if any statute which is made or passed for the benefit and welfare of the people is comes under beneficial construction or welfare legislation. While interpreting, if the natural meaning of word are not able to achieve the object of statute, extended meaning may be given to them if they are capable to receiving the meaning. It can be given to beneficial legislations only that which confers some benefit to some class of person, like social welfare legislation. Such benefit is given to by interpreting the statute liberally, and thus beneficial legislation should be interpreted liberally. Beneficial legislation or welfare legislation should be interpreted in a purposive manner which would effectuate the object of the welfare legislation. Industrial Dispute Act is also a beneficial legislation or welfare legislation which aims to protect the workmen. Means it is an example of welfare legislation, Internal Dispute Act. The courts, while interpreting labor laws, have always stressed on the doctrine of social justice and interpreting such legislation very liberally. Following paper is restricted only to the interpretation of workman and industry definition under the Industrial Dispute Act, which will be supported by the different case laws to find out the benefit of welfare of the statute. There is a case, Santram vs. Rajinder Lal. The Supreme Court held that welfare legislations must be interpreted in a third world perspective, favoring the weaker and poor classes. It has also laid down in the case of labor legislations that court should not stick to the grammatical construction but also have regard to purpose and protective intendment of the legislation. For example, Industrial Dispute Act, Factories Act and labor laws. Now moving to the next point, which is prospective and retrospective statute. So first understand the meaning of prospective. The dictionary meaning of the word prospective with reference to the statute shows that it is concerned with or applying the law in future, or at least from the date of commencement of the statute. The meaning of the word prospective with the reference of a statute shows that it is concerned with or applying the laws in future, or at least from the date of commencement of the statute. A statute which operates upon acts and transactions which have not occurred when the statute takes effect, that is which regulates the future, is a prospective statute. So this is the meaning of prospective statute. Whenever a statute is operates upon acts and transaction, if something act done or transaction which have not occurred, which have not completed when the statute takes effect, that is which regulates the future, is a prospective statute. Now moving to next, retrospective or retroactive statute. A statute takes away or impairs vested right acquired under the existing law or creates a new obligation into a new duty or attaches a new disability in respect of transaction or consideration already passed are deemed retrospective or retroactive statute. The word retrospective, when used with the reference to the enactment. So this word is used with the reference of enactment may be, first thing, effective and existing contracts. Second, reopening of the past closed and completed transactions. Third one, affecting accrued or vested right and remedies. And fourth is affecting procedures. The retrospective operation of an enactment may be mean one thing and it's affecting the right of parties. It deals with past contingencies. However, prospective operation deals with the future contingencies and does not affect existing rights and liabilities of parties. There is an example which is related to criminal law. Article 20 of the Indian Constitution is divided into two parts. The first part, no person shall be convicted of any offences except for violation of law in force at the time of commission of an act charged as an offence. It means a law enacted later making an act done earlier as an offence. Second part is Article 21 protects a person from a penalty greater than that which he might have been subjected to at the time of commission of an offence. It means thus a person cannot be made to suffer more by an ex post facto law. Ex post facto law is a law that changes the legal status or consequences of an action after it has already done, especially a new law that makes an action illegal after it has been committed. So this is the meaning of ex post facto law. He would not be subjected to at the time of he committed the offence. This clause applies to punishment of criminal offence only. So retrospective statute contemplates the past and gives effect to previous transactions. There must be a words in a statute sufficient to show that the intention of the legislature is to give the rule or the law retrospective effects. So this is all about the prospective and retrospective statute. So friends, today's topic for interpretation of statute revision part 3 is completed. I hope you understood the topics covered in this video. Thank you for watching the video. Request you to please do like, share and comment on video. Also, if you are not subscribed my channel yet, so please subscribe the channel for more videos. Thank you once again. Stay tuned.